Why did you want to get involved with the end of human suffering?
When I woke up this morning, it was a bit late.
That's a documentary on child sex trafficking, and most people are aware it's one of the current big issues, and it's also a moral issue that almost everyone in the world can agree is something that needs to be addressed, which is actually pretty uncommon to get that many people in agreement. And it is something that does need to be addressed. I have, over the years, throughout my travels, known a couple of people who were trafficked, but really how I got involved is a co-producer on that project approached me. It was kind of an opportunity that fell into my lap. I wasn't seeking that specific thing out, but it's something that needs to be addressed and is important, and the opportunity to take on that project was there.
Can you tell me about your recent book, Mastering the Madness, Live Your Best Life and Create a Better World?
Yes, of course. Actually, that book is currently in process. I'm just about finished with it now, and it's taken a while to write. It addresses some of the most important issues of our day. If you haven't noticed, in 2020, the world has kind of gone mad. It's people are basically at each other's throats practically, and I look at these issues as a consciousness issue and an issue of living in balance, and I address it structurally throughout the book, with each chapter focusing on the progression of the awakening and unfolding individual consciousness and a potential unfoldment of world evolution. And so I offer some practical tools and techniques for the individual, and ways that we can look at history and look at our current events, and how we can live proactively and in balance, because the individual and the collective together, they are they have a relationship. If you haven't noticed, there's a relationship. We as individuals need to live empowered, balanced lives and come from a place of reason and compassion. However, also there's a lot of things that are outside our individual control, and we're all in this together. I look at a lot of historical things, as well as current world events, and I outlay my philosophy on a number of things in this book, and I give some just practical tips as well. And really, it's encouraging the reader to think and draw their own conclusions, is how I have put a lot of it. My own personal views on any one individual topic aren't mentioned heavily in there. I encourage the reader to draw their own conclusions to live a better life and try to help create a better world for all of us.
So, what is consciousness to you?
Consciousness, I view it as our self-awareness, our ability to choose, to make a choice, not just from reacting to external stimuli, but from having that moment of lucidity, that space from which we can choose a different path. I mean, when we're younger, maybe we've heard things from our parents, or we've been or in society, and we might be inclined not to think of things. As we mature and go through that maturation process of intelligence, whether in all its forms, whether that's the rational or emotional or any form of intelligence, we can hopefully get to the point where we make choices that are better for us and better for our societies. And by making those choices from an empowered place, we can then change our lives and change our world. So I look at consciousness as that self-awareness, that ability to choose, and the more conscious we are in our lives, that's generally the better trend for our lives. At least that's And I would say that's been true of me and a number of the people I know, and just in general.
Okay, so you believe on free will. Do you
I
believe?
would say we have
Mhm.
free choice. I would say will. How are you going to define that? I mean, we can use our will to make that choice, but we don't necessarily have 100% control of every single outcome because there's a lot of us here, and there's a lot of factors going on in our lives, a lot of variables, and with those variables at play, we can choose, but we don't necessarily control every single individual outcome of every choice. So I guess it would be depending, how are you going to parse that? How are you going to define will? And what is our degree of knowledge? I mean, the best laid plans of mice and men, to quote Robert Burns. Sometimes, we don't, we can intend well, but not, but the outcome could be a little different than anticipated.
What are the other projects you are getting involved in and why you are interested into it?
Well, I'm involved in quite a few startup investments. Well, number one, I see disruptive technologies have the potential to change our world quite a bit. They have also, if you haven't noticed, they have the potential also to make a lot of profit. Uh, so I'm involved somewhat in the startup space, and some of the companies I'm involved with are companies like Choose. That's a Norwegian company that's been recognized by Richard Branson, and they offer tools for both individuals and businesses to help offset carbon. And so that is one company, and they've actually just before I was at Nobel last year, they just partnered with Norwegian Airlines. So they're a rapidly growing company. Another company I'm involved with is called Ovanova, and they are helping transition the world to more solar energy. They give a donation to organizations that people support if the people will give their time to learn about solar and then hopefully transition over to solar energy. So it's a win-win. You get people on the phone who are eager to learn about solar, and you're doing good for a community organization that these people support. So it's a novel solution. It's a new kind of way of doing things. Another company, and I'm actually the lead investor in that company. And then another company is dealing with climate, in which I'm involved, is called Now, and they are looking at the climate crisis through the lens of both scientists, artists, creatives, all walks of life, and ways that people can get involved. Last I looked at their website, they had already funded over 300,000 tree plantings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the last time I had taken a look. And they've got a number of initiatives in which they are involved, through which basically the carbon can be removed. Another endeavor I'm in, let's see, I got to keep track. I'm involved in a lot of things. So I've got a company called AO Air, in which I'm an investor, and they are creating the replacement for the N95 mask. They have been rated and studied by the Auckland University of Technology as being up to 50 times better than some leading market solutions. And the unique thing about this product that it will be coming to market is that it doesn't even require a seal around the face to work. And it's clear. It uses nanofiltration, and it uses the airflow. It's a device. So it uses airflow, and it basically since it doesn't require a seal, it's going to be comfortable. And even if you have facial hair like I do, it's not a problem.
Is it expensive?
Well, I don't know what the sale price would be, and of course it will come down over time, but it is a device that is reusable. You only have to maybe replace a filter. Maybe I would guess maybe monthly or something, you replace a filter. It's reusable. I don't, off the top of my head, don't know the sale price on that when it launches. And again, over time, as with anything that is mass produced, the price generally tends to decrease over time as well. So, I mean, if you count up how many masks people are buying, you start adding that up, a one-time purchase with a replaceable filter makes a lot of sense. And they were working on this prior to actually COVID-19. They were working on this product. I mean, the N95 respirator is a product that has been around for decades without any really redesign or something to replace it. So it's time, and it's only been made more timely by COVID-19. Another endeavor in which I'm involved is called Ahura AI, and they are a company that is allowing for the retraining of the workforce, and it uses artificial intelligence to train people 3 to 5 times faster than they could under traditional learning methods. And this is also something whose time has come, because I'm sure you're aware, a lot of there's going to be a massive shift in the workforce. And I mean, this has been seen for quite some time, but in COVID-19 is only going to accelerate that shift. You're going to see a lot of unemployment and different types of work, and people are going to need to be retrained. So this is an idea whose time has come. That's why I got involved with it. Ordinarily, I'd been a little hesitant about some AI things, depending on the type of thing and the ethics of the people involved and the parameters that would be placed on it, because we are opening a little bit of Pandora's box when we're dealing with artificial intelligence. Okay. But it's going to happen, so somebody's got to do it. So let those who are doing it in a way that protects the consumer and protects the individual, let those people be the ones to do it.
Okay, yeah.
And another thing I'm involved in, I'm losing count here, but is a company called Rage On. I'm an investor in that and a strategic advisor. They offer a platform for people and companies to create products that are branded to them. People can have online stores. Like, for example, let's say, T-shirts, for example. I'll use that as the example. T-shirts that have like designs on them. Often, when people make those and purchase those, they'd have to order in bulk. Well, they can do this like print on demand. So they're doing a lot of different products for brands like Netflix and Black Eyed Peas, and also over 900,000 just individual online stores where artists can actually put their own wares on there. They offer this print on demand, so it saves on a lot of waste, and it also empowers, in the case of the smaller people that are like just individual artists that make up like those like 900,000, they are in that case, they are basically empowered to run their own business, which is important in times like a pandemic. So it offers a lot of flexibility, and they've got some exciting things they're working on, as well as some intellectual property. I'm not at liberty to talk about a lot of that at the moment, but they've got a lot going on. So that's kind of gives you an idea of some of the things I'm involved in. On a number of these companies, I've either been a board member or I've served in a strategic advisor role. Some of them I've served as lead investor for. So it's been an interesting ride. I'm involved in some renewable energy products as well, and got some production things in addition to the end of human suffering that I'm under NDA on, that I can't talk about publicly yet, but we're getting pretty close on some major stuff. So that's exciting.
Oh. Whoa, I'm looking forward to hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Why I'm involved in them? because they're exciting, interesting, and offer the chance to make a tremendous impact as well as making a good profit. So that's why I'm involved in those particular endeavors.
How about one day that it's possible to replace human consciousness with algorithm? Are you willing to invest your money for that?
I have mixed feelings on that one. I would say never. Then again, I just said never by saying never say never. But also, it would have to be very specific, the parameters like we talked about, like on AI, I have in some cases been a little hesitant to invest in it because of the potential dangers. I'll make an analogy. You look at there's narrow AI and general AI, as I'm sure you're aware.
Mhm.
Narrow meaning like a specific task that it's focused on versus general, like an intelligence that could be comparable or potentially eventually exceed human consciousness. So specific task, I see no real inherent danger in doing something like narrow AI. It's something that can augment the human intelligence. We start getting to some of the other things there, which we start to get into. If there aren't very specific ethical guardrails in place, we could be opening up ourselves to an extinction event, which some scientists have talked about as being a potential. So I just would be very careful. Now, I use that as an analogy. When we look at something like an algorithm replacing human consciousness, what would be the parameters there? Would it be a very specific form of human consciousness in the sense of just, we say, being able to reason out and solve certain problems? Or are we talking actually replacing the entire human consciousness and giving it freedom of choice? If we look at it as I defined consciousness earlier, as our self-awareness and the ability to make a choice, and the greater the consciousness, the greater the power, especially along with the knowledge as well. If we were to define it that way, I might be a little concerned about that, and would especially define it on what guardrails are in place. I'm not without further information as to what that would entail. I would not be the most keen to be the one putting the money behind starting that. So that's, I guess I kind of answered your question. We look at, interestingly, if you go through history and mythology, there's a lot of stories. I mean, we can think about Pandora's box. There's the Jewish folklore of the golem. There's stories of Atlantis and technology, and universally, kind of the lesson in a lot of those stories is how humanity, sometimes our knowledge has exceeded our wisdom. And just because we are technologically advanced doesn't mean we always have the wisdom or even the will to use it in a good and healthy way, which is why if we hearken back to some of those stories, there's kind of a cautionary tale in some of those. I don't say don't do it, but also be very careful. Even another story that kind of is along those lines is Goethe's story of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And we see that, of course, in the movie Fantasia with Mickey Mouse and the broom and all that. I mean, just be careful. Whatever forces we choose to unleash, use discretion and wisdom and prudence.
How do you want to change the world?
That's a good question. I would like to see the individual empowered to make better choices in their lives, to live a life of balance and add their contribution to society. I would also like to see organizations and institutions do the same. So anything I'm involved in, if you may have noticed, there's somewhat of a theme there. It gives empowerment and options and freedoms to people and organizations that deal with these things. So I would like to see that for the individual, for our societies, for our countries, and for our world, where there are the freedom to do things from a place of balance and to help people live better lives.
Well, thank you very much. That's really good. It's really powerful, I think.
You have a wonderful evening there, and sleep well. Camera. Meeting when you said the other was off recording.
Oh my God, this is the
That's what matters. Caught it. Yeah, you caught it in time.
yeah. That's really powerful. Yeah. Yeah, I think I like that actually. It's good. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Thank you, Suzette. It's been a pleasure.